Imagine if the real levers of your life weren't grand resolutions or once-in-a-lifetime breakthroughs, but the tiny routines you repeat when no one's watching, the 1% shifts that seem trivial today and compound into something extraordinary. That's the promise of atomic habits. Small changes that are easy to do and, over time, become the building blocks of exceptional results. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And atomic habits are simply the small, repeatable parts of a larger system for living better, the way atoms are the small, powerful parts of a molecule. These small routines feel insignificant at first, but they accumulate into fuel for outsized gains if you keep going. The most powerful effects are delayed, so patience becomes a strategic advantage. Work at being 1% better each day and the compounding eventually reveals itself. In the beginning, it's normal to feel like nothing is happening until you cross a critical threshold. If this breakdown of big goals into small systems resonates with you, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive. To use small habits well, you need a simple map of how habits form. Every habit follows the same 4-step loop: cue, craving, response, and reward. The cue is the trigger your brain notices. The craving is the prediction of what the cue means. The response is the behavior, and the reward satisfies the desire and teaches your brain whether to repeat it next time. From these 4 steps flow the 4 laws of behavior change. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. When you want to break a bad habit, you invert the laws. Make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. But there's a deeper layer that explains why some habits stick and others don't. Identity. Many people try to change by chasing outcomes. I want to lose weight. Or by forcing processes. I'll follow this plan. The book argues for flipping the script. Decide the kind of person you want to become and prove it to yourself with small wins. The real shift is from "I want this result" to "I am this kind of person," because behavior usually aligns with identity. The aim isn't read a book, it's be a reader. Not run a marathon, but be a runner. When identity and action match, you're no longer forcing change, you're acting like the person you believe yourself to be. Consider 2 people offered a cigarette. One says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." That person still sees themselves as a smoker attempting to behave differently. The other says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." That small wording shift signals an identity change. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. One action won't rewrite your beliefs, but as votes accumulate, so does the evidence for a new identity. Now let's translate the 4 laws into moves you can actually make. First, make it obvious. Most of your daily actions happen on autopilot. You repeat what's familiar. So the starting point is awareness. Write down your current habits in a habit scorecard and mark them as positive, negative, or neutral. Naming a habit brings it into the light. The book even describes pointing and calling, a practice borrowed from high-reliability environments where saying actions out loud increases awareness and reduces errors. Applied to personal behavior, it helps you interrupt autopilot. Once you see your patterns, use 2 simple formulas to direct them. The implementation intention formula is I will behavior at time in location. The habit stacking formula is after current habit, I will new habit. These templates convert vague hopes into clear triggers and attach new behaviors to old ones. Designing your environment is the physical complement to these scripts. Place cues for good habits where you see them, and remove cues for bad ones. Make the signals for what you want to do obvious. Equally important, you can't rely on willpower forever. The book makes this precise. People with strong self-control don't spend more time resisting. They spend less time in tempting situations. That's why the secret of self-control is to optimize your environment. Make good cues visible and bad cues invisible. If social feeds trigger envy, unfollow them. If the TV pulls you in, move it out of the bedroom. Reduce exposure to the triggers, and the habit often collapses. The point is not superhuman discipline. It's smarter surroundings. Self-control is a short-term strategy. Redesigning the environment is the long-term solution. Second, make it attractive. We're wired to imitate the habits of 3 groups: the close, family and friends; the many, the tribe, and the powerful, people with status. Social norms are invisible laws that pull us toward belonging. When a behavior earns approval and respect, it feels more attractive. So one of the most effective strategies is to join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior and where you share something in common with the group. The book shows how proximity shapes habits. We copy the people around us, how they argue, flirt, and succeed at work because belonging is a basic drive. Even prodigious practice stays attractive when it's valued by your environment, a dynamic illustrated by the long-term effort inside families or groups that celebrate a skill. You also have tools like temptation bundling, pair what you want to do with what you need to do, and motivation rituals, something you enjoy right before a difficult habit, to make good habits feel more appealing right now. Third, make it easy. Human behavior follows the law of least effort. By nature, we choose the option that requires the least work. If you want a habit to stick, reduce friction, decrease the number of steps between you and the behavior, and prepare your environment so the next action is easy. Reduce resistance to good habits and increase resistance to bad ones. Set up the path of least resistance in the direction you want to go. A practical way to do this is with one-time choices and automation that lock in future behavior. The book's summary emphasizes investing in technology and single decisions that make the preferred action automatic. And when you're starting, apply the 2-minute rule. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. If you want to exercise, begin by putting on your training clothes. Make the first step so easy you can't say no. The book even includes habit shaping. Map the big ambition down to a series of small, 2-minute gateway actions, like driving to the gym and doing 5 minutes so your attention stays on showing up. Once you've standardized, then you optimize. The early moments of each day are decisive moments, little Y-splits in the path that send you toward a productive or an unproductive day, so designing those first moves pays outsized dividends. And as a reinforcing example, the book highlights a daily ritual where the smallest reliable action, like taking the taxi to the gym, becomes the real trigger that reduces decision fatigue and keeps the routine on autopilot. Fourth, make it satisfying. In the moment, the brain repeats what's rewarded. That's why adding an immediate small reward to a good habit and making doing nothing enjoyable when you successfully avoid a bad habit helps wire the loop to run again. Habit tracking, don't break the chain, provides instant evidence that you showed up, which is satisfying now while the bigger payoff accumulates later. And if you miss a day, the rule is simple: never miss twice. Recover immediately and reestablish the rhythm. For extra insurance, add social costs to inaction. An accountability partner creates an immediate cost for not following through, and a habit contract makes the cost public and painful, which powerfully deters backsliding. Social forces aren't just window dressing. They're core to making habits attractive and resilient. We don't choose our earliest habits, we imitate what's around us. Families, schools, communities, and cultures pack our days with invisible expectations, and we tend to follow our culture's script without noticing. Conduct becomes attractive when it earns belonging and approval. We imitate the clothes, the many, and the powerful, so put yourself in rooms where the normal behavior is your desired behavior. With the system in place, the book's advanced tactics zoom out to talent, personality, and motivation, because choosing the right arena multiplies the returns on your habits. You'll feel more motivated when you play a game where the odds favor you. People tend to enjoy what comes a little easier. And that positive feedback loop, competence, praise, opportunity, feeds further effort. So pick the right habit for you. The wrong habit turns life into a grind. There's a practical way to find fit. First, explore broadly, then exploit what works best, occasionally returning to exploration. This explore-exploit balance is how you match your habits to your strengths and context. The principle scales down to daily choices too. If a certain diet or reading style suits you better, do that. There's a version of almost every habit that can bring you genuine satisfaction. Find the variant that fits your wiring, because pleasant habits are sustainable habits. To maintain motivation across months and years, aim for the Goldilocks zone challenges on the edge of your current ability. Not too hard, not too easy. That's where motivation peaks and flow becomes possible. A task that's just manageable keeps you engaged, with enough wins to feel momentum and enough errors to keep you working hard. Over time, the way to stay excellent is to fall in love with the boredom of repetition. Professionals keep showing up even when it isn't exciting. They stick to a schedule when conditions aren't perfect and find a way to do the work anyway. Put all of this together, and a day in your life becomes a series of engineered wins. You begin by noticing and labeling your current patterns with a habit scorecard so your awareness can catch automatic loops. You write implementation intentions that set clear time and place triggers, and you use habit stacking to graft a tiny, 2-minute version of a new habit onto something you already do. You rearrange your environment so the right cues are visible and the wrong ones are invisible. Maybe the book on the pillow, the phone in another room, the healthy food at eye level. Because you know self-control is finite and environment design is durable. You remember the law of least effort and reduce friction until taking action feels like water running downhill. You make one-time decisions and automations that guarantee the next right thing happens by default. You ritualize the first step, so starting is effortless, the 2-minute version to win the decisive moments that steer the rest of the day. And you make the loop satisfying in the present, a tiny reward, a visible streak you don't want to break, and a commitment to never miss twice. As these repetitions stack up, your identity quietly updates. Each page you read is a vote for, I am a reader. Each workout is a vote for, I am an athlete. The process of building habits is the process of becoming yourself, through microevolutions, habit by habit, vote by vote, until the evidence in your day aligns with the story you tell about who you are. If you occasionally worry about changing too fast, remember, gradual identity change avoids the whiplash of instant reinvention, and atomic habits are a safe vehicle for that gradual evolution. All along, your social world is either fueling or fighting your efforts. The most durable move is to join a group where your desired behavior is simply how we do things here, where you share common ground and your actions are praised. When the normal behavior of the tribe supports you, doing the right thing feels attractive and natural. And when missteps happen, as they always do, measurement and accountability keep you steady. A simple log, a visual chain you're reluctant to break, a partner who notices if you slip, or even a written habit contract that makes the costs of not following through immediate and public. None of this requires punishing intensity. It requires intelligent design. Choose the arena that fits your strengths so the work feels more natural and the feedback loop stays positive. Explore to find a good fit, then exploit what works, continuing to experiment at the margins. Keep your challenges in the Goldilocks zone, manageable difficulty to stay engaged, and commit to showing up even when motivation dips. The prize for this kind of steady consistency isn't flashy. It's the quiet pride of becoming someone who does what they say they'll do, because that's who they are now. So here's how today could look if you put the book's playbook into motion. You wake and win a decisive moment by opening the journal that's already on your pillow. Your implementation intention readies your next step. After I brew coffee, I will read one page at the kitchen table. You place the book where you can't miss it because environment beats willpower. You do the 2-minute version, check the box on your tracker, and enjoy the small satisfaction of a vote cast for the identity reader. Later, you stack a short walk after lunch because that's what your culture does. The people around you make movement normal, and that social proof makes the habit attractive enough to repeat tomorrow. When friction appears, you lower it. When temptations loom, you make them invisible. If you miss, you never miss twice. The book's message is steady and reassuring. The small things aren't small. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The early returns are quiet, but the late returns are loud. Systems beat goals because systems are what you actually do, and what you do, repeatedly, is who you become. The compounding only reveals itself after you've been patient through the nothing's changing phase. So keep laying down votes for the person you want to be. If this recap helped you turn ideas into a plan you can use today, subscribe for more deep, book-faithful breakdowns, and drop a comment telling me which book you want me to recap next.